Ravens are first place in the AFC North with the Steelers coming into town this Sunday. We also get an update on Nate Wiggins from John Harbaugh. There's a good chance we get Tavius Robinson and Darius Washington back practicing this week. We also hear Harbaugh's thoughts on Emery Jones Jr.'s debut, Derrick Henry's usage in the Bengals game, and we look at which Ravens are currently in the top 10 fan voting for the Pro Bowl. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Just like that, the Ravens are back in first place of the AFC North, really tied for first place with the Steelers, and the Steelers are coming into town this Sunday, but they're coming off a blowout loss to the Buffalo Bills, 26-7, where the Bills ran for over 200 rushing yards on this Pittsburgh defense that has been struggling throughout this entire season. The Steelers do not look great. The fans are even more pissed than Ravens fans, I think, right now, which is hard to believe because there's a lot of Ravens fans that have been extremely negative throughout this season and for some good reason, too. I'm not saying that there's no reason to have some doubt or be negative or love to play on the field. There's definitely a lot to improve on. The Ravens have not lived up to their standards this season, no doubt. But the Steelers fans are feeling like they're in an even worse place than Baltimore. So maybe that makes you feel a little bit better. Maybe not. We'll see who the best team is on this Sunday because it's a showdown for the North, man. It's not going to decide the AFC North no matter who wins it. But if the Ravens can sweep the Steelers and they play the Bengals again next week for some revenge, if we can run through the division, I think we do win the AFC North. We're going to be hosting a wild card game. And that's all that matters, man. Get in the dance and play your best ball then. Steelers also dealing with some key injuries. Patrick Queen left yesterday's game. It is believed that he has a lower back bruise. He's having tests, but the hope is it's not a long-term injury, but definitely questionable for this Sunday against the Ravens. And the Steelers let up 249 rushing yards to the Bills yesterday. James Cook had 32 carries for 144. Davis had 62. Allen had 38. 249 rushing yards. And although it doesn't feel like we run enough sometimes, the Ravens are actually top 5 in rushing in pretty much every category. I mean, the Ravens are technically running the ball pretty well and running a lot. They're 32nd in pass attempts, which really just tells me that we're not running enough offensive plays. We're having too many short drives. We're not on the field enough. In that Bengals game, we obviously had more passes because we got behind and went 3 and out a couple times in the first half, led to a ton of 2-minute plays. And I always kind of leave the game wishing that we ran the ball more or that we would really dive into the identity of running the ball, which is Baltimore Ravens football, and we are running the ball, actually. So the Ravens need to do a better job of staying on the field and sustaining longer drives, getting more plays. I think that they will wear down defenses more. They will help out the Ravens defense. You know, the Ravens defense actually played pretty well against the Bengals until they just kept getting put out in the field in bad situations and then wore down in the second half. And, you know, there's just so many issues that happen when the offense is turning the ball over or they can't stay on the field. In that Bengals game, the Ravens were doing both, 5 turnovers, and they weren't staying on the field consistently. So I think that the Ravens obviously need to hold on to the ball, but really need to find a way to just get first downs and keep getting first downs. Let's get some drives rolling. Let's get more offensive plays. And this Steelers defense this year is not your normal Steelers defense. This is not a feared unit, really. The teams are putting up yards on this defense, and I think the Ravens need to figure out a way to do the same thing, man. The Ravens offense has been struggling. They cannot struggle in this game. They need to go out there and have their best game. And I know that's a lot to ask for with a couple week slump that they're in, but this Ravens offense hasn't struggled this entire season. It has been the past few weeks since Lamar came back, and obviously when he was hurt, I'm not counting that, but since Lamar came back from injury, the Ravens offense has not really hit the ground running. They need to find a way to do so this game. Out of the 3 teams racing for the AFC North battle, the Ravens technically have the strongest strength of schedule with 11th. The Steelers have the 13th hardest schedule, and the Bengals have the 20th hardest schedule. But the Ravens are still heavy favorites to win it all. And I agree, but we got to handle these division games. I think you could afford one outside loss for the rest of the season, but you have to handle the Steelers and the Bengals. Moving on to some injury updates from today. John Harbaugh said that Nate Wiggins is day-to-day, so we'll see what his status is for this Sunday against Pittsburgh, but it's definitely not a long-term long-term injury. He is in a walking boot. I saw the photo flying around that he is in a walking boot, but day-to-day is not that scary, you know? So maybe he misses this week against Pittsburgh. That would suck. We need Nate Wiggins out there. It's not like we can't beat Pittsburgh without him, but I'd definitely rather have Nate back on the field. But I am happy to hear that this is not a serious long-term injury.
Nate's day-to-day right now. So we'll see where he's at on Wednesday, and we'll see where he's at going forward from there.
Harbaugh also said that there is a good chance that Tavius Robinson and Ardarius Washington return to practice this week.
It's a chance we get those guys back in practice this week, yeah. We'll see Wednesday. There's a good chance, actually.
And then the other injury updates, which we kind of already knew, but Harbaugh reconfirmed those today. Justice Hill is going to be out about a month. He said 3 to 4 weeks. He could return later this season, though. And then Chandler Martin did tear his ACL. He's going to have surgery soon, and he's out the entire season, expected to be back next year at training camp. Harbaugh also spoke on Emery Jones Jr. debut and the rotation at left guard versus right guard, which I thought was interesting because I know a lot of fans are saying, well, we still have a Fa'alele problem. Yeah, well, we have both guards problem, you know, so they decided to plug the Voorhees problem, or at least try to, with Emery Jones Jr. And I liked what I saw from Emery, especially in his first game. I think he's moving a lot better in space. He's a way better athlete than a lot of our linemen, to be honest, and the potential is very high for Emery Jones Jr. But Harbaugh talked about that. He said that they did consider, you know, putting Emery at right guard as well, but it's just so hard to have a new player learn both sides, and it increases the learning curve. So they went with him at left guard for now.
I thought he played hard and showed some athleticism, you know, and some fight and some gusto. Played like a rookie in a lot of ways. You know, there's a lot of things to clean up for sure. I think he'll be the first to tell you that. But, you know, you can't really start making those improvements until you play. You have to play in games to start growing in that direction. And he got a chance to do that, which was really positive. And we'll just have to see going forward how much we want to continue that as we go.
Is it possible that he could play in the other guard spot as well?
It's possible, but it's hard to do. You know, I mean, we've had that conversation. I mean, it's a good question. It's the same question that I asked and that we asked. How viable is that? But you take a rookie and put him on both sides. You compound the curve quite a bit.
On the other side of that, how did you see Voorhees respond to being in a rotation, and just what would you like to see from him to continue playing or to solidify that job a little bit more from his perspective?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, there's a step between being a starter and being an established starter, kind of in the league. You know, kind of what you're talking about. And when you're a younger player, like Andrew or a lot of guys, you know, you want to establish yourself as a starter. You know, and I think he's in the process of doing that. You know, he played good ball. He graded out highly. You know, his numbers were good. Daniel graded out highly too. There's plays that both of them want back. There's plays that their line wants back too. I promise you. You know, it's tough to play O-line in this league, but consistency really is the bottom line. You know, just to be as consistent as you can possibly be, and have as many really upside plays as you can. But most of all, as much as possible, and the interior offensive line is probably the toughest place to do it, is to minimize the negative plays as much as you can, you know.
John Harbaugh also explained why Derrick Henry's usage was low in that Bengals game and did confirm that this team is a running team. That is the Ravens' identity, and they need to dive into that.
No, of course not. I mean, that's not the numbers that we want at all, you know, and we want to run the ball. We're a running team. You know, I mean, that's the fact. And we're a throwing team, too. We got Lamar Jackson. We got receivers. We got tight ends. We got all that. But we want to always be a team that runs the ball and stops the run. That's been since 2008. You know, it's not going to really probably ever change. And that's really what football is. So, for sure. And when you look at the game, I mean, we went 7 plays down the field and scored. Then we went 3 and out, then we were in 2 minutes. So that explains the lack of carries in the second quarter. We didn't have any plays in the second quarter to have a chance to even run the ball. So then the other part of that is just the number of 2-minute plays in the game was staggering. I mean, we had 21 2-minute plays. That's way too high. And when you have that many I don't mind 2-minute plays at the end of the half. I'm not real fired up about 2-minute plays at the end of the game. That means you're trying to come back. And so we had 7 or 8 2-minute plays at the end of the half, and we had, 15 or so at the end of the game because we started 2 minutes at the 9:38 mark of the fourth quarter. And that explains the play distribution as much as anything. It explains the carries as much as anything. So the circumstance of the game took us in that direction.
Early Pro Bowl voting was released, and the Ravens do have a couple guys that are in top 10 voting at their positions. Tyler Linderbaum comes in at 3rd right now in center voting. Kyle Hamilton 4th. Roquan Smith at 5th. Tyler Loop at 8th, and Pat Ricard at 7th. No Lamar Jackson in the top 10, no Derrick Henry in the top 10. I kind of get why. Derrick Henry's 7th in rushing, so it's not like he's having a bad season by any means. I understand why Lamar's not in there this year, especially with getting hurt. But I would argue that Nate Wiggins and Jordan Stout should be top 10 at their positions. I think Nate Wiggins is having an incredible season, and so is Jordan Stout. To not be top 10 in punters just means he's underrated because he's also having his best season and one of the best seasons in the league this year. So those are the two kind of slept on Ravens I feel like that should be in the top 10 Pro Bowl voting at their positions right now, but it's still early. It's just the fan voting and there's a lot left to play out. So I just wanted to kind of go over where we stand at the moment. That's pretty much it from today's updates. I am going live with Noah tonight at 7 o'clock, so hope to see a lot of you guys there, but let me know what you guys are thinking about everything that we talked about today. This Steelers matchup coming on Sunday, man, this is a huge game. The Ravens, for as bad of a season as they've had, have everything right in front of them still. You know, they can overcome every mistake and every bad game that they've played so far by running through this division for the rest of the season and winning the AFC North, which will guarantee them a playoff spot and that they host a game in the first week of the playoffs. So it's more important than ever, man. I don't see the Ravens making the playoffs if they don't win the AFC North. So they got to handle business on Sunday. But let me know what you guys are thinking about everything. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the Flock Rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.